Ends the Cypher. Prepare for another all-nighter.
On the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Chicago trip. Anything anyone disputes Phil with in what he said tonight?
No, I mean, when we started, you're right. We had him on early, and we also had the fellow on who wrote the ESPN issue of the baseball. I can't remember his name right now. You know, and it's interesting that, you know, the Washington Nationals, remember, were slated to kind of run away with it. And it doesn't mean that it can't still happen. I will say this, you're right. Atlanta did go off on a tear. And it seems like they've kind of slowed down a bit. But you know what? It's better to be steady and pace yourself. You like you said, you can't be like the White Sox were last year, and they how many weeks? You say it was like
117
days. And then when they really needed that extra oomph, they just didn't have it. So it's better to be steady at the pace. So Atlanta, though they're not, you know, on the tear they were on, they still look relatively good to me.
They're still 6 games above Washington.
But they have some injury issues. Now, both the Uptons went out of the game the other night. So they're having some problems. But I intentionally didn't ask him about the White Sox and their whole thing.
Well, thank you, Faruq.
Thank you. Because I was like, even though I like the conversation about there's somebody interested in PV, because, you know, we talk about week in and week out, it's time to dismantle and rebuild. So if that's a piece somehow they can find use for. Matt Thornton is now with the Red Sox.
Yep.
You know, they're doing what they need. I think they've already conceded that this season is not going anywhere. And when you're standing at the bottom of the division looking at everybody else, including Kansas City, it is what it is. So there was no point of asking.
I think they're the worst team in baseball. I know they're not record-wise. The Houston Astros hold that.
Well, the Marlins might be worse. I mean,
the Marlins have a
but we
worse
are talking
record.
about bottom feeders. We're comparing them to bottom feeders, which is really bad. You know, and even he said about, you know, with Soriano possibly having, you know, some legs and some life to go over to the Orioles. I mean, that's a good thing for the Cubs. That's a contract they need to get rid of. So, I mean, it isn't what you want to really hear if you're a Chicago sports fan of baseball, but if these are things that need to happen for these two teams to move on.
I think the Sox need to do more than Peavy. I like the fact that they got anything from Matt Thornton. First of all,
Yeah,
I was actually shocked they got something for Thornton.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised too. But hey, go with it. Whatever you know, Boston was on that day. Take it.
So that means there are possibly some more morons out there that might give them things for their garbage. So
well, everything. You know what's interesting, and you got to look at it from this aspect. You may be with an organization and just. Maybe Matt Thornton's time here it was done. He wasn't thriving the way he did when he got here. You go to a different organization, you kind of hit your reset button, and all of a sudden you start doing better. That can be said with a lot of other talent on that roster. That maybe right now in this particular scenario, which to me is not a healthy situation, this has not been a good year for the Rick Hahn era by any stretch of the imagination. He's still dealing with components that's left over, obviously, from what Kenny Williams did. So this is not a good signature year for him. He's got to figure out where this organization is going and what pieces are worth keeping.
But Maya, as you said, though, this is something that the organization needs to do.
Yes.
Both of them.
Yes.
So White Sox fans, Cubs fans, you know what? You're going to be okay. If that means moving these pieces and 3 or 4 years down the line, you're going to be back in contention, this is what you need to do.
Exactly.
What about Chris Sale?
I do not know.
No.
I don't believe you cannot sell away every piece of the farm. You cannot. There's got to be something you're using to build around. I mean, here's the thing. If you tear down everything and you leave nothing, then the question goes, well, what exactly are we doing? To me, Chris Sale has value. He's something you can build around. He is worth keeping to me.
What if you wind up trading with a team like Atlanta, who always is bringing up great players? Every time you look around, Atlanta has some young guy up hitting 450-foot home runs or some guy pitching great. What if you can get 2 to 3 of their top prospects for a guy like Chris Sale?
So you're comparing prospect to?
No. These are guys, pretty much guaranteed that they're going to succeed, like top guys is what I'm saying. Not guys where they're in the AA and maybe they'll probably be great or some scouts said they'll be great. These guys, the only thing holding them back is Jason Hayward is playing in front of them or somebody like that, or else they would be up.
That's the only way that I think that Rick Hahn would make that move.
Right.
You have these
the value.
3, and they have to be position players. The White Sox is fine pitchers. Position players, everyday players, they cannot find these guys. They can't groom them. So if Chris Sale can bring you back those kind of prospects, 3 or 4 of them that they can be in a lineup tomorrow and in the future they're going to be doing something, then yeah, maybe. But if you're not going to get that, Maya, don't make the trade. He's 24 years old. You can't.
No,
even
with pitching outside of Chris Sale, he's the only thing that makes me feel like, I'm not saying he's untouchable, but he's pretty darn close. There's nobody else in that pitching rotation I feel is not expendable.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm serious about that. Whether it be Danks, Floyd. Go with it. If you can get someone to take him. He's the only piece I want to see stay at this point. You're right. Position-wise, it's just not gelling right. Something, either it's just the chemistry's not there. Actually, that team has no chemistry. Now, it could absolutely be because of how they've dealt with injuries all season long. One player comes back and somebody else is gone. And that could be part of the issue.